Coming up, hooray for Hollywood. Oscar night is coming, and host Jimmy Kimmel wants you to know it might get political. You think? He says, like it or not, the president's fair game. Plus, something had to give after that Florida school shooting, but is ditching toy guns really the right response? And later, Prince Harry needs some good old American logic. Who invites multiple exes to their wedding? Like it or not starts right now. I was told this show is debuting in Washington, D.C., but I think we were in Chicago today. What in the world is going on around here?
It's breezy.
I was Jim Cantore. We were talking about this before the show, just blowing away. So it's great that we're all here.
Yes, this is not Jim Cantore. Of course, this is the one and only Britt McHenry. Yes. And, of course, from the radio airwaves and TV as well, Guy Lambert.
Hey, Graham.
Hi.
Britt.
Let's do this?
Let's do it, baby.
Graham Whiteside, let's get it on. First up, the Oscars, where this year we'll see about how much is about the big screen and how much is about the big guy in the Oval Office. A champagne roast is coming. Jimmy Kimmel is back as your host, and if you watched his late night show over the last year or so, you know he is not shy about taking on hot button issues. He sat down with ABC News earlier this week to talk about why the president remains fair game.
A lot of people are going with this line of reasoning where they say people in show business shouldn't speak out about politics, and yet they elected Donald Trump the president of the United States. So I think that argument is pretty well jumped out the window.
Back to that in a moment. As far as Me Too, he says the Oscars should be about people fulfilling their dreams, so Golden Globes in the background, and not reliving all these traumatic events. So like it or not, award show grandstanding.
Not. It's not going to be about Me Too. They can't obviously highlight that because half of Hollywood is guilty. In fact, there was a statue. Some artist put a casting couch statue of Harvey Weinstein on Hollywood Boulevard.
Which is crass
4
and not
days.
funny, but go on.
But that is how rampant it was in Hollywood. So for him to say, oh, we're going to go after the president, the same man who invited Stormy Daniels on his show, okay, to try to attack Donald Trump, which if you want to do, fine, but you're not going to out and take responsibility for Hollywood for what they've done? No.
I'm so glad Britt went first on this one. A bunch of crybabies. I'm talking about all of those who lean to the right about this. Why? Politics and the Academy Awards have gone together hand in hand since the 70s. Jane Fonda decided not to give a speech when she accepted her award. Marlon Brando didn't even show up. Of course, we got the Me Too movement. I dare won't even talk about African Americans being upset about the Academy
DiCaprio
Awards.
talked about the environment. This has happened for years and years and years that people have taken on missions, right?
Right.
So what's wrong with this? And to Kimmel's point, isn't there an entertainer in the White House right now? So why is he allowed to speak about political options and not the people who are actually entertainers right now?
They're allowed to talk about it, but every show, it's like the world versus Donald Trump is what Hollywood tries to portray it. And then when the Harvey Weinstein scandal breaks, that's where right-leaning people get upset of the straight hypocrisy that there's silence. Meryl Streep didn't say anything. Jennifer Lawrence didn't say anything. And now she's all political, and she may not speak to Ryan Seacrest on the red carpet because of sexual misconduct allegations towards him. It's just kind of like, it's a little too late for me. And they always like to point the finger at the White House and at conservatives, but they won't point it at themselves.
From Hollywood's big guns to the real life and way more important discussion of real life big guns. Those guys at Dick's, they are either saints or, well, a bunch of cowards for deciding to stop selling assault rifles altogether at their nationwide locations. This depends who you ask, of course. Walmart and LL Bean have now joined Dick's Sporting Goods in increasing the age limit to buy a gun to 21. And both Walmart and Dick's are now no longer going to sell the type of weapons that were used at the Parkland massacre. Walmart went even a step further. They said toys that resemble these types of guns are no longer going to be on their shelves either. So, like it or not, companies taking action to limit gun sales.
Yeah. I'll start on this one. This is a great thing. High five going out to the corporate heads that made this call. Why? Because they're making a move following the deaths of several children. Now we have the GOP, those leaning to the right, coming forward and saying, hey, you know what? We're going to tax those companies that did all of this. Well, they're making a move based upon their beliefs in order to gain another vote. Which one is more important here, in my opinion?
Well, I would say, you know, I'm always against the federal government telling you what you need to do. And so I'm not going to slam these individual corporations for making decisions that they want to make. But what I will slam is this notion of, oh, we're going to get rid of the NRA discounts for companies. Guess what? Delta did that. It was looked into. It was only used 13 times. I just think that's a grandstanding thing. I think there are good members of the NRA. There's 5 million members. They're not child murderers like everyone tries to portray them to be. I'm pro Second Amendment, and I don't think taking toy guns off the shelves are going to do it.
If they are going to say, though, that watching movies that have violence in them and listening to music that refers to violence in it will then potentially bring about a new kind of killer, then maybe they shouldn't be raised playing with guns either. If that's if that's the point you're going to make, because I don't agree with either one of those things. However, you can't use that and then turn around and say, well, don't do that with the guns.
Or how about just the parents, don't let your kids watch those. Don't let your kids get those video games. I couldn't watch MTV growing up. I really couldn't.
Yeah,
it was off. It was taken off my TV, my personal room.
That's
first world problems, right? But no, I mean, maybe that's where you should start instead of blaming video games.
Meantime, President Trump has listened, then weighed in and said some in his party are petrified of the NRA, then seemed to backtrack after a meeting with the NRA. Meantime, it came out the police in Parkland did not engage the shooter, failing to meet the standard of their own call of duty. Trump thinks that would never be him.
I think I really believe I'd run in there even if I didn't have a weapon. And I think most of the people in this room would have done that too.
Come on.
Oh, God. Can you see my face? I mean, get out of here. This is the guy that avoided, the draft during the Vietnam War. Now, all of a sudden, hey, you're a billionaire guy, you're running around, you become president, and guess what? Yeah, I'm going to be the first guy to run in there with my gun.
He has that athleticism from the golf stadium.
I'm pretty sure he does. Get out of here. That is the dumbest thing I've heard all year. And I'm serious when I say
Really?
Because
Because that's a long list. If that's what won, I'm surprised. Yeah.
I dug up an article from the New York Daily News in 1991 where apparently, again, first world problems again, he had his driver stop because he saw someone getting mugged and reportedly ran after him. So who knows? Maybe that golf swing, maybe the sprinting in billions would spur him to action.
It ran after, what, a half a block?
I'm joking here.
I mean, he can't run too far, probably. Who knows?
In 91?
Oh, okay. Maybe. Go figure.
I think not. How about that?
What do you think not?
I think not.
Like it or not?
Like it or not.
Yeah, not.
Coming up, give me a break. Non-smokers get the shaft at work, and now they want a little something for their trouble. Like it or not, we'll be right back. Back to Like It or Not. We just came off of our first smoke break. You know who's got it good? Smokers. Every few hours, because of their cravings, they get to go sit outside for 15 minutes or so. Well, not today, but you get the point. Non-smokers are angry and suggest they are getting the shaft, or in this case, the butt. In a new survey, almost half of non-smokers said they should get 3 to 5 extra vacation days a year, and they might have a point because the average smoker spends about 6 days per year on smoke breaks.
Wow.
But the amount of time people take also depends on what they do. Workers in tech, retail, and finance spend the equivalent of 20 days a year on smoke breaks. So like it or not, us non-smokers deserve a break too.
I love it. This is a great thing. You ever notice that smokers, they'll go, 5, 6 breaks throughout the day. No one ever asks where they happen to be. And, we go to the bathroom, go take a quick break, and the boss says, where in the heck are you at? Yeah, this is a great thing. I really like this. I think it's going to be a good move if it actually happens because, well, then I'll get a chance to enjoy my breaks as well. Well, you smoke.
I don't smoke. I agree with you there where it's like you're just going to the break room, you're putting your soup in, running back to your desk
right.
to eat it, and meanwhile, Joe Smith just smoked a cigarette for 20 minutes. So I do think it's a little humorous, though, that people want their vacation. The commitment to vacation is that hard. They're entering in a calculator 6 days, 3 days a year, whatever it is.
I've been watching you, but now the smokers have to, when they come back from the break, go over to them and say, you're on Facebook, you're getting ready for the NCAA tournament, you're in fantasy football, you look at cat videos on YouTube, you're also wasting time, you've just gone about it in a different way.
But I'll get in trouble for that if the boss happens to walk by. So while you're out smoking, you daggone right I'm going to look at Facebook in the NCAA tournament. It's only fair.
And some companies ban those sites, to be fair, too.
They're not banning smoking.
Exactly. And you can check on your phone, just learned this, how much time you spend on different apps. And now it's coming to me, I think maybe 12 hours on Twitter once came up, so that's embarrassing. But yeah, we all spend our times in not productive way.
Yeah, I don't want it to be part of the complaining part. I might just have to take up smoking. Makes things a lot easier.
Not Twitter.
Yeah. Coming up here, the Warriors come to Washington, and they skip the White House, and Britt's still not happy with Kevin Durant about it. BM versus KD. Like it or not, we'll be right back. You know, it's good to be the king. You can choose which world leaders you want to spend time with. And the choice the Golden State Warriors made on their annual trip here to Washington was to hang out more with the constituents and not visit the White House. Not that they were invited. I'm pretty sure, in fact, the NBA champs were disinvited from visiting the Rose Garden, which is the traditional rite of championship passage for champions of pro leagues. But these Warriors just talk so much about all the things they don't like about Donald Trump. So he told them to take their ball and go home. Instead, the team chose to spend the day in D.C. hanging out with some local students.
Just to see the smiles and the excitement, you know, when we walked in, I always screamed with Steph, Clay, KD, Draymond, like just for them to know who we are and to see us up close and personal, and to be from, you know, a place where I grew up and never got the opportunity to see, you know, the people that I looked up to as a kid.
It brings people together, and I think that's kind of how it's manifested itself in this whole conversation. You know, rhetoric and hate and kind of just general disdain from the top, trying to be divisive, I think, and whatnot, has had the opposite reaction, which I think it intended.
Couple of MVPs staying away from the White House, like it or not, skipping the visit. Not that they were invited.
They talk about, you just heard Steph Curry say, it's not about divisiveness, yet that's exactly what they're doing in those comments.
But Trump told them not to come.
So they made it a point to then tell everyone about it. They've been very vocal against Trump. That's the whole point that he said not to. You know, the Penguins went, other teams have gone, and I think it's disrespecting the highest office in our land, no matter who is in there.
Well, let's be clear. President Trump wasn't the first president in which a team said, hey, we're not going to go visit the White House. Albert Pujols, of course, played for the Cardinals, didn't go when Obama was in office. Yep. Tom Brady didn't go when Obama was in office. You know what I like about this? KD, Steph Curry, they took the high road. Not once did they make mention of President Trump while in D.C. Can we take the high road, Britt? Well, you know,
they were just referencing him, though.
They didn't mention his name. And, of course, they gave back as well to all the local kids.
Kevin Durant did go visit Suitland High School. Kevin Durant also donated a lot of money to start basically a tech startup in Prince George's County where he grew up. I mean, I think they spent their time wisely.
And they were asked about this. And I love Suitland, and I've been in that neighborhood when we covered sports, covering stories about him. But great, but he has more than enough money to do so. So you know what? Good for you, Kevin Durant. Maybe if you have such an issue that you have to passive-aggressively talk about the president, maybe you show up, shake his hand, and say that to his face.
Maybe if
and that would have happened.
Maybe if you stopped calling athletes SOBs and things of that nature, they wouldn't passively aggressively.
Can I get a high five for that, please? Bram, don't leave me hanging. Thank you very much. I mean, that's the God-honest truth. This is just something that's going to happen over and over again while the president's in office, while Trump's in office. I can't tell you who's going to be the champion next year, but I guarantee you there's going to be somebody on that team that says, you know what, we'd rather not go.
Trump should be more passive-aggressive and less aggressive.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like it or not. Well, it's no secret O.J. Simpson returned to the peak of pop culture status thanks to The People versus O.J. Simpson. O.J. made it in America and getting released on parole last year. Now Fox trying to cash in on the juice. The network set to air a new 2-hour special called The Lost Confession. It's a decade-old interview, and it focuses on the hypothetical account of the murders of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman.
Forget everything you think you know about that night, because I know the facts better than anyone. This is one story the whole world got wrong.
All right, the special was taped to coincide with Simpson's book, If I Did It, but never aired because the families of both Brown and Goldman complained.
Shocker.
Where do we start, guys?
The deceased, that their families would complain about that. I think it's disgusting. I think it's vile. I don't understand the obsession with O.J. Simpson in this saga in America. It may not have been found in court, but by all intents and purposes, he's a murderer, and we're glorifying that. And we're going to probably, ratings are going to be through the roof on it.
Yes, they are.
And I just think about, what if you're her family? Like,
good point.
I mean, seriously, think about it from that perspective. I know we're in this business. I know we do things for ratings. I know that there's a story element to it and intrigue. But seriously, take a step back and think about if you're those.
This is one of the most fascinating stories in American history. It is. It also changed our coverage of court cases. And it is one of the pinnacle moments in American history. It was. It's one of the most memorable things that ever happened. Everybody remembers where they were when they heard about the Bronco going down the highway in Los Angeles. I would say this, though. I don't believe a confession is coming, because if it was already there, it means Fox sat on it for 10 years and never told anybody that he said he did it. And if that's what he ends up doing in this special, there's going to be a lot of people who are going to have to answer to, why didn't you tell authorities that he admitted to these things?
What's interesting about that, he starts off the interview speaking in third person. He ends speaking in first person, to your point.
So what are you saying? He's a sociopath?
I'm saying,
I think there's been some examples of that since throughout the years. And that trial was also responsible, inevitably, for the Kardashian family. So I'm doubling down on not liking this and O.J. Simpson.
I can't wait to see it, personally. We'll have to see. Really? Next up, the royal wedding. Planning for Harry and Meghan's May ceremony has been underway for months, but the big question looms. Who's gonna be on the guest list? Now we're finally getting a glimpse of who might be on it, and the first few names aren't the ones you might expect. The Spice Girls, Mel B, a.k.a. Scary Spice, confirmed all 5 Spice Girls have been invited to the wedding. She also hinted they may perform. I can't wait to see that. Also making the cut, Chelsea Davis and Cressida Bonus. And if those names sound somewhat remotely familiar, it's because they're Harry's exes. Sources told the Daily Mail Harry has stayed good friends with both, and, quote, Meghan won't mind one bit. More than 2,000 members of the public will also receive invitations. Wow.
I'm trying not to laugh, but Meghan will not mind one bit. Okay. Also, they look like the same human being.
Yeah,
do they not?
He has a type.
That he does. Well, not anymore.
Not anymore.
Yeah.
This is really interesting to me. You know, she doesn't mind because, well, guess what? She's about to become a princess. So, you know.
That's the
Where
real
do I sign up?
problem here.
Yeah.
That's the real problem here. Two, like, really close to being princesses who aren't going to be princesses get to hang out and watch someone become a princess.
I was reading an article.
Bad idea.
I was reading
Really
an
bad
article
idea.
in Marie Claire that there's all these wardrobe rules the Queen has. That Kate Middleton and Meghan Markle, they have to wear nude tights everywhere they go. I mean, there's like imagine, so if that's how severe the protocol is, of course she's not going to mind that the ex-girlfriends are showing up.
What about the girls that do remain paupers? What is their protocol for what they get to wear to the wedding?
You're going to have a burn book, just like, just
This
so
is
mad.
real life Cinderella's ball, and the prince is picking somebody, and the others are going, why not me?
Just a thought, maybe because their families know each other. The royal family happens to know the other two young ladies' families.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why.
We can all agree the Spice Girls are royalty for the UK. They've at least earned that.
Republican spice? Yes? Good?
I thought you were going to say scary when you're going
Like
No, absolutely not. Here's what's scary. Some flights are starting to look more like Noah's Ark, and now airlines are cracking down. Like it or not, we'll be right back. Welcome back. You guys got pets?
I do.
You do?
She's the queen.
Yep. So much
so
so.
than
Believe it or not.
We'll see if she gets a first-class seat with this story next. What's worse than getting a middle seat on a plane? Getting a window only to find out the middle seat will be used by a pig or a hamster or a peacock because the person in the aisle needs it for emotional support. Let's all push the attendant call button at once and say, time's up on that. The head of the Association of Flight Attendants recently said, airplanes are turning into Noah's Ark, and they believe safety and security are now at issue. Delta and United recently changed their policies when it comes to service animals. Passengers now have to have a doctor's note and provide proof that the animals are properly trained and healthy. So, like it or not, should you be able to fly with your quote-unquote pet?
I like it. You know, I think this is a very good thing. If you look at it, you said Delta and United recently formed some legislation saying that, hey, you can't fly with a certain type of animal or something?
Well, because it was like an array of animals you'd find at the National Zoo that have suddenly become emotional support animals and not a trained dog for, say, a blind person.
That's Delta and that's United. The other airlines, all you have to do is sign a document saying, hey, I am responsible for my animal. With that being said, I could bring a damn lion onto the airplane.
But I don't
this
want to
is
sit
ridiculous.
next to your lion, is what I'm trying to tell you.
I don't know. I think
This is
sitting
not
next to a peacock
Jumanji.
Yeah, this is just really weird to me. I mean, we saw a peacock, we saw a bird outside of a peacock. This is just
Let
really
them be
kinda
free.
weird.
Let them be great.
Let them be free. Your emotional support animal is scaring the you-know-what out of me.
I can't weigh in on this because my dog Foxy, she's now on television, apparently. We're talking about her. She would be terrible at the airport. Like, barking at everything. I've never even entertained the thought. But my father works for an airline. It's pretty difficult to put those animals in the cargo area in summertime with heat where they could be at risk.
Uh-huh.
What are they going to do? The pups need to travel too.
Not.
No. You can't smoke on a plane. You can't bring a koala on a plane. Okay? It'll be
booking
there
one
when
for
you
you
land.
next trip.
For Britt McHenry and Guy Lambert, I'm Bram Weinstein. Thank you for joining us so much for the debut of Like It or Not. We'll see you next week.